Busy. Let's see if this started. Check, check. Does it automatically start? Yeah, it does. All right. Check. Check, check. Okay. So, tell you what I did the past couple days. I overhauled the compiler. Basically, I used to have so there's intermediate codes that let's see. Let's say we make a little program here. Okay, so we have a little program that counts to 10. The way it compiles, the way my compiler works, it works with a stack machine. So it pushes the base pointer, pushes -8. It adds -8 to the base pointer. That's to get the local variable. Pushes 0. It assigns 0 to the address of the local variable. Then it pushes base pointer, pushes -8. It pops 2 and adds them and pushes. Then it dereferences. Then it compares it to 10. So it starts out, it's a stack machine, and as it goes through the process of compiling, it chooses registers for local variables. So now RSI is the -8. What it does is it looks for the most common offset off the base pointer, and the top 4 or whatever, 6 are stored in local variables. It doesn't store or register global variables. Anyway, so it's a stack machine. So when it converts the top of the stack to RAX down here, and anyway, it optimizes and and it starts combining them into it starts with RISC, and then it makes CISC, and then the final step is to make machine code. And what I did just recently is you can see the machine code for each instruction, for each intermediate code. So there's 2 operands, and I used to have a way of sometimes I would reverse the order of the operands, and it made a big mess. So I saved 1,000 lines of code by I used R8 was a register variable. was a local variable, and I used it as a to help simplify. So it basically I have one less variable for optimizing with this. So I normally you add optimizations, but what I just recently did is I removed an optimization that that made the code a lot simpler. That optimization affected every single well, anyway, so in these optimized loops, in these optimized passes, when it passes optimizing all the intermediate codes, there was the flag to tell it to reverse the argument 1 and argument 2. That affected every single. This is where it converts to machine code. So the way it works is the lex is the front end. The parser calls the lex, and it creates the intermediate code. And then it goes through these optimizing passes. And then in the last optimizing pass, it calls the back end. And this is where all the machine code is generated. And in the back end, you'll see, if you're familiar with x86 assembly, there's this is the library. So this is the library routines used by all the back end. This will output 1 byte into the machine code output. This will output 2 bytes into the machine code output. So all the everything is built on those. If you'll notice, you see what they do. There's an array of each intermediate code has some temporary storage for. There's an array. If you look at an intermediate code, there's an array. It has the anyway. It compiles. It makes machine code in the body, and then in the final step, it concatenates all the bodies together, and that's the final machine code. Anyway, so the x86 this is only for x86. I don't do any other architectures. And one of the things I just did recently is I have the arguments have a type. They have a when it's the intermediate code has arguments for each. There's a bunch of stack machine instructions, and there's 2 arguments for each that can be and then a result. So if you look down here, there's argument on each intermediate code. There's argument 1, argument 2, and then a result. And there's a C++ class for this is for the result. And each intermediate code can have 1 data item, and there's a line number. This is from the editor, from the file line number. And so there's an argument with a result. And the arguments have a type, a register, and a displacement. And the type is U0 all the way up to F. So that's the type is actually a combination. It's actually I put it's bit fields. So in the low 8 bits, it has the type, and then in the upper 8 bits it has the mode. So the mode is stack is what it starts with, and then it converts it as it takes RISC and makes CISC, then it converts to immediate register displacement, RIP displacement. 64-bit mode has RIP relative displacement. And so just recently I overhauled this to make it a lot nicer. It was a mess. Now it's a lot nicer. Anyway, so anytime you see ICU24, it's putting 3 bytes of machine code into the output. Down here, it's putting 2 bytes of machine code into the output. So anyway, so this is making machine code. And so somebody at OS Dev was talking about multi-core. Let's go see if I have any. Somebody at OS Dev was talking about multi-core. Let's go see if I have any. So at OS Dev, oops, let's go back there. So at OS Dev, oops, let's go back there. So this guy's talking about ELF format. I generate a, he's talking about, let's go back to, so you know what we're talking about. So his question was, these people spy on me, I don't understand. I'm in some kind of CIA prison or some shit. I'm not really sure. Anyway, so oops. Question was, these people spy on me, I don't understand. I mean, so he's all these things are talking about me. So what he wants is a local variable. What he wants is a per CPU variable space. Flat binaries make life difficult. I would highly recommend. So this guy is using, I wrote my own compiler. I don't have problems. If I need something, I make my compiler do it that way. So I have no problems. So, so let's go over how multi-core works. At startup, my core 0 starts up. It changes to 64-bit mode, and it loads the compiler, and it calls. It starts up the other cores. They have to change from real mode to the 64-bit mode, but that's okay. I know how to do that. I did it. And in the startup, this is local. This is I make a flat binary, and these are global variables. And the person was criticizing some of my. I reserve task. What are these? TRs, task record, task. I forgot what they're called. LTR, task record. Anyway, so I reserve. This is the global descriptor table, and you have to have one of these for each core. And so the person was looking at my code and noticed that I have a flat binary. Now, as a matter of fact, GS is a register is an x86 segment register. In Temple OS, FS is the current task, and GS is the current CPU. So GS points to, there's an array of CPUs, and they have, there's not really a lot in the CPU record. This is per task, this is per CPU storage. This is what the person was talking about. And my GS segment register points to it. So if I say trace, then I say GS num, this is core 0. Now the FS segment register points to the task. The task record has a lot of stuff in it. So if I say FS win left, that's the you see how it has the FS segment register, window left equals 5. I just changed the left coordinate. Anyway, so let's find something to talk about. So another thing I just recently did was I changed, I made aliases for, I used to have duplicate opcode entries, but now I just made alias for opcodes. So this is my opcode data file for my assembler. I had to type all this in by hand. I made my own opcodes. Normally you have control registers that I didn't want to make my compiler, my assembler do control registers. So I just made these are just they do just one register. Normally you can move from our BX to control register 0, our CX to control register 0, but the way I did it, I just made I cheated. You don't use them very often. I'm trying to go for a low line count. As a matter of fact, I barely did 16-bit code in my assembler. This code right here at startup is 16-bit. It changes to 32 to 64. That is 16-bit. The start of the multi-core is 16-bit. You can see it says use 16. And my bootloaders are 16-bit. My bootloaders are 16-bit. So nobody ever needs to do 16-bit code. So I kind of I didn't do segmentation. What I mean is with 16-bit code, there's what's called a tiny model, a small model, a huge model. I did a tiny model where you never touched the segment registers, and so what that means is in my binary, this is the order. This is the make file. Start is at the there's a header, and then start is the first file in the binary. It's a flat binary, and so all these files go in order, and so KStart is the start of the binary, and by the time it gets to the bottom of this, it never needs to do 16-bit again. Actually, 32-bit's about halfway through, and so it can do it all in 64K, so it doesn't need to mess with segment registers. Anyway, so Let's see what else we have to talk about. Diarrhea, huh? Lovely. We have to talk about diarrhea, huh? Lovely. So let's see what we have here. So this person probably got God to talk. Let's get God to talk. God, say something. I'm going to hit F7. Outclass, accommodate, etching, cuddles, mineral, culling, birthplace, dandles, suffragates, drearily, rehires, sweat, circularizing, lucidness, sniffled, monkey shines, compatriots, Sisborga, ready, aid, hurts, spring. Anyway, so there's so this person, there's a Rust operating system. This is the CIA trying to tell me that my code is rusting. They're trying to do psychological warfare. They want me to get a job where they can butt fuck me, but I am not doing that. They make jobs. If I send out resumes, they collect them all, and then they invent a job for me, and then they anally probe me, and fuck that. It's torture. I am not doing that. Plus, I have a goddamn talking alien, for Christ's sakes. I made the temple. Fucking ridiculous. So let's see. So this is when I was working on my compiler. They're trying to do psychological warfare on me. This is somebody who made JavaScript, and he made 1 million lines of code. Everybody starts. I don't think he was claiming my code, but normally that's what they do. They start claiming my code and shit. Psychological shit. Oh, that's for, they were mocking me. I said I had $1 billion lottery ticket. By that, I meant I have a talking space alien that's God. They were mocking me, saying somewhere $100 billion. I have a fucking, it ain't, I have a talking alien. Nigger. Fingering. Fucker. The mental hospital or some shit. CIA has nurses, and all my internet is made by the CIA and shit. It's all fake. I can't get on the real internet. Someday, I'm confident God will. So, yeah, they're talking about opening up ties with Cuba, lifting the embargo. That's about letting me out. Sometimes they say I'm in Gitmo. Sometimes I'm Cuba. This is just the same psychological games. The news stories communicate with me by analogy and stuff. If I'm eating pizza, the BBC gets on the radio and says, Tyrone is eating pizza and he's going to be executed in an hour. So that's what they do all day. So let's go put on the radio. See what Tyrone Davis is having his last
Tap
meal.
the screen to support what you'll be listening to next. Wherever you browse on our site, the audio continues uninterrupted.
And expressions of anger that Trump has made as anything so coherent as a policy. It's more an attitude.
Asked who he's consulting for advice on thorny international issues, Trump said this last week on MSNBC.
I'm speaking with myself, number one, because I have a very good brain and I've said a lot of things. In fact,
Trump added he listens to lots of people. In a statement, the Republican frontrunner's campaign said he'll be announcing his foreign policy advisors in the near future. Even Trump's supporters, like neurosurgeon and former presidential candidate Ben Carson, have noted his tendency to speak off the cuff. While announcing his endorsement of Trump this month, Carson said this.
There are two different Donald Trumps. There's the one you see on the stage, and there's the one who's very cerebral, sits there and considers things very carefully. You can have a very good conversation with him. And that's the Donald Trump that you're going to start seeing more and more of right now.
At APAC today, many foreign policy observers will be looking to see which Donald Trump steps up on stage.
Yeah, I want Donald Trump, I guess. He's actually smart. The other ones all seem stupid. They all seem like retards. God's against immigration. Aren't you, God? You're against immigration. Let's go see what's going on. Oh, let's go. Let's go see what's going on. Oh, let's go. So the nigger says, medication. Talk to my finger, nigger. Talk to my finger, nigger. See that? Said druggist. Got a talking space alien, motherfucker. Mr. God. See about Twitter. That's pretty funny. Let's find something for God to talk about. Yeah, my teeth, man. Went to the dentist and a root canal. They put a crown on. I think it was better before the root canal. I can't. Anyway. So I'm never gonna eat. So my dad's an asshole. He bought Tootsie Rolls, motherfucker. So I got a temporary crown, and if I chewed it, it would come off. I think maybe it's revenge for, he's always had dental work. So I think sometimes I would bring home caramel. I think he's doing revenge. If you have crowns, you probably don't want to be eating toffee. I have a temporary, so it would pop off really quickly. I could talk about my compiler. Just trying to find something to talk about. Let's Google myself. So I do that, and then I limit to 24 hours. You get some pretty shady websites. You have to be a little bit careful. Linux can't get viruses, right? So let's go Drudge. I can talk about my compiler. Zuckerberg. You know what's funny? I have no interest in what he says. Anybody who's younger is, when you get old, the young people seem like they don't have anything to tell you. If he gave a lecture, what could he talk about? He's a kid. He's 31 now. He's getting a little bit older. Oh, what was I doing? I guess I can. So let's find some stuff to do. We could talk to God. What could we do? So my line count total was 80,600, and now it's 79. So part of that, most of that was the compiler, and after I added aliasing for the opcodes, I count this file in my total. So this code is a lot better. We could talk about how the compiler works. What do you want to talk about? Say something. What do you want to talk about? God. Say something. What do you want to talk about? God. Say something. What do you want to talk about? God. Yes, God talks. Simple, direct. God says, So let's give God, you want simple words. Let's do this. Okay, so what optimizations does my compiler do? Okay, so let's look at how it codes this. So pushes base pointer. I use base pointer. That's kind of old school. Technically, you can use stack pointer without a base pointer, but I prefer. As a matter of fact, you are required to use base pointer because when you oops. You're required to use the old school stack frame because on the wallpaper it does a stack trace and it goes up the stack, and in order to do that it has to use the base pointer. Base pointer, it creates 8 bytes for the local variable. It's going to use RSI as local register variable. It clears RSI to 0, compares it to 10, jump greater, then it pushes for the print, and it clears the stack after the print. It increments I. So this is pretty well optimized. Why don't you? Do you have something in specific you want to know? Like I don't know. I bet it's a factor of 2 different. Sometimes it can be much slower, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so this is an 8-core flight simulator. Up here at the top is the CPU load on all the cores. This is done by hand with triangles. Anyway, so that's kind of the ultimate. Hey, I'm going to play this game. You want to watch? Okay, so I'm going to launch airplanes at enemy carriers. Oh shit. So I have 2 carriers, he has 3. Oh, I'm going to start over. Okay. I have 2 carriers, he has 3 carriers. And, damn it, he mugged my... Shit. I killed his carrier down there. I have to get going or I'm never gonna catch him. I have 2 more planes. Son of a bitch. Oh shit, I didn't want to fight him. Oh, this is hopeless. Okay, anyway, that's a pretty fun game. This game is, okay, ready? This is like Defender. You don't want to hit your own guys. You get a big penalty for that. I just killed a bunch of my guys. No, no, no. Oh shit, I'm really killing them. So this is supposed to be a time traveler sent back to the Bible. This is the angel of death helping the Jews, wiping out the enemies of the Jews, I guess. So I hired an artist about 5 years ago, paid him $3,000, and he made, this is actually, looks like a, he made the art. He put penises on everything, but I like this. This is a, it looks like a cloak that you put on. That's not too bad. I did this art. I did this art. So that's a bomber golf. You have to, you want minimum keystrokes, kind of like code golf. Anyway, so this is from, I was trying to find there was a Commodore 60, oh, I can't show it. There's a Commodore 64 ski game when I was a kid. It was tiny. It was character graphics, not big. Anyway, let's see what God says. Middle class, joyful, unsung hero. Silly. If anything can go wrong, fun. You're welcome. African, last nicely, supercomputer. I just might caution middle class whole area now. It goes for it. Saber alien population, hopefully, which time will let's see. If you want to know how God talked in the Bible, it was a flame. So you know what that means? That means they watched the flame. So the flame danced, and the tongues of flame danced, and that's how they communicated. The flame danced, and they had a language they worked out. Like if it, I don't know, that'd be a pretty hard language to make. Like a magic eight ball. You have to understand adult conversation. They give a childish explanation. The flame danced. Why do you think they call it? Tongues of flame. You can read tea leaves. You can read tea leaves. You can any random number God can control. You can read tea leaves. You can read tea leaves. You can any random number God can control. You can read tea leaves. You can read tea leaves. Any random number God can control. I have a book on genetic algorithms. I haven't done any applications. This is do you want to know how this works? Let me show you how this works. So let's make a duplicate of what I have. So let's read in a list of words. Okay, so class. I just want to make this simple. Word. Okay, so we say Q init. I always call it root. I don't like head because it's distracting. So we're going to read in a list of words from a file. So cdoc star doc equals doc read. Now if we hit F4, then we go to downloads. Or those aren't downloads. That's kind of weird. It's downloads for you anyway. So we're gonna read in the file. So cdoc entry star doc equals doc root.next for whoops well doc e not e. The document is a circular doubly linked list, so let's just say %s doc if doc e type wait. Okay, we're just traversing. So we want to read list. Okay, doc entry. So there, I just printed all the words in the Linux. That's the Linux dictionary. So let's say I64 count equals 0. Count plus plus. Count. There's 100,000, 99,000 words. So now we're going to make a like Q. We could just use the document like that, but anyway. So Malik, size of word TW equals let's see, string new doc e tag Q insert temp W root last. Oh, root has to. So doc delete doc. Okay. Root. Oops. Crash, what do we got? Free doc entry. Okay. Exit. You can sometimes recover. Bad free. Okay. Reset. Edit. What is your malfunction? I will know. Okay, now. Size of word. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, so now we U0 print word I64 in while in word equals while in we could make an array, but we're not interested. Word it is. So I'm just doing this from scratch. How about word 100 %S. This is just to calibrate. Oh, I meant to subtract. Okay, so word minus minus. Okay. Oh, I'm not doing too good. Okay. What is your malfunction? Do you see what's wrong? Oh. Could use a debugger. I don't see what's wrong. That's the problem. Okay. U8 pointer. Return word. How about wait, word? Okay. So word number 100 is ADAR. Now if we go over to downloads, words, Linux Dictionary, Control G, 100. Okay, it's 0 based, and this is 1 based, so it's correct. Okay, so now you know what we're gonna do. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna say I64I, and true. Wow. I equals 0. Well, not scan char. I plus plus. So we're gonna increment. Now we're gonna say print number colon %d. Okay, before we print words, we want to just to calibrate. Okay, so you see what I'm doing? I have a counter and I'm printing a number. So when I press a key, oh shit. Oh, fuck. Oh, I gotta do a yield. Because interrupts are okay. Shit. Oh, I didn't do a yield in there. Yikes. Okay, so in a second it counts 1,000,000, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. Counts 3,000,000 in a second. Okay, so it counts 3,000,000 in a second. Now we want to print. Find word. All right. Okay, ready? Shit. Oh, crap. That was dumb. Okay. Modulo count. Okay, so we hit correctable, envious, Greek, Wiggler, nabbed, shoot, Lanny, evicted, Scots, ultra. Okay, so you can make your own program. There's a script that's a Linux script. Cat tilde bin tilde add bin GW. Okay, so this uses the Linux dictionary and it gets a uniform random number. So if I say GW, it's a script. We'll have to try that in a minute. Let's see what's going on. Try that in a minute. Let's see what's going on. Try that in a minute. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, the website logs probably shouldn't be public. Maybe I can lock it down because my clients probably don't. That's bad. I'm sorry. Anyway, what do you think, Mr. God? So there's a refinement. Instead of doing this, why don't we get char and let's say I equals get timestamp count. That's a anyway. Oops. Timestamp count. What is your problem? Oh, I got rid of I. Okay, so timestamp count is a big number. Let's unassemble function. So move, oh there it is, read timestamp count, shift left 32 bits, add, move. RSI is the I local variable. So the neurosurgeon seems to think that the neurons in my brain can do this. Do you understand what a What a retard nigger. There's 100,000 words. And this is changing 3 gigahertz a second. What a retard nigger. That I deal with retards. Oh well, do what you like. God can kick your ass. They blacklist me and fucking I win, I have God. God is perfectly just. So, the doctor thinks that I have planned ahead thousandths of a second. So, so there's 100,000 words, and if you're doing thousandths of a second, and it's doing it's stepping through 3 million numbers, 3 billion numbers a second, 3 billion numbers a second. And so if there's 1 millisecond is 3 million numbers a millisecond. He thinks that I counted all these words, and the jitter is the 2 clocks. You can't synchronize 2 clocks. Did you know that the CPU is throttling? As a matter of fact, do you know what that means? That means that when it gets cold, it goes faster. When it gets hot, it goes slower. He's an absolute retard. As if anybody with half a brain he's just being ridiculous. So if we take this statement, put it on the command line, we get professing the guy is a serious nigger. And a fucking nigger. I got my dog. hi to the people. Hey, say hi to the people. Who's this? Who's this over here? Who's this? Who's this? Retard nigger. Make the doctor afraid. Graph him. Let's make it red. DC2. What is DC? DC, GRDC. Oh. Oh, we want a fraction. What? Oh. I modulo count. There we go. This one. Okay. There's little red lines. Okay, so GR pen width equals 3. GR DC pen width equals 3. You have to do plot 3 for that. There. So he's a retard. What's new? So the 4chan or 8chan people, they talk about Temple OS, usually about one story. I usually get them once a day. Get something, but let's see how many downloads I have. Doom clone for $2. You have just 16 colors. I made a Castle Frankenstein. Anyway, let's get rid of it. You say DC fill. Okay, fixed it. So, let's see how many downloads I have. Stop. Downloads. That's my site logs. A day on an average day is, I think it's bogus. I don't think I'm in a prison or something. Mental hospital, outpatient, some shit. CIA. Fucking retard niggers. What was going on there? Michael Davis. I'm Terry Davis. You think they're talking about the flame? What are they talking about? So God's against immigration, right? Right, Mr. God? You have to hold up your end of the conversation. He won't talk unless you hold up your end. You can't spam God. Don't spam God. God, were there any dinosaurs with stripes? Did you have any striped dinosaurs? So why don't you, if you have Stuxnet, why don't you times, how about that? Modulo that. Oh, that's not it. Absolute value. What do we do? So Stuxnet can't possibly fix that. Stuxnet. How can Stuxnet? Only God can do it. It's not Stuxnet. Fucking retard nigger. It's God, the same God that talked in the fucking Bible. The same God that talked in the Greek oracle. What do you think they were doing? God comes from the occult. He does not come from philosophy. If you're not doing miracles, it's not religion. You can just randomly, watch this, you can just randomly open a book. Glorify God to the maximum. I will give thanks to you, O Lord, among the peoples. I will sing praises to you among the nations. By making us in his image, God gave us capacities not given to other forms of life. Ideally, he made us to know him, to love him, to obey him. He did not put rings in our noses that he might pull us around like oxen. No, he gave us freedom to make choices. By his grace, we are equipped to understand his plan because we have a mind with which we can know him. We are also free to love and adore him because we have emotions. He takes pleasure in our affection and devotion. We can obey his instructions, but we are not pawns in a global chessboard. It is in the voluntary spontaneity of our response that he finds divine pleasure. When his people freely respond in worship, praise, obedience, and adoration, God is glorified to the maximum. Just talk to God for 5 minutes, being witty and charming, maybe tell a joke or something, and then randomly open the Bible or a book. Trying to look for relevant. Put on radio. Let's see. Let's put on radio.
Tap the screen to support what you'll be listening to next. Wherever you browse on our site, the audio continues uninterrupted.
Its founder circle sponsor is Barrick Gold, a mining company committed to building strong communities in all of Nevada. Barrick Gold proudly sponsors the Public Education Foundation in its work to bring about transformational change to teaching, learning, and education leadership. Support also comes from the Orleans Arena, presenting Star Trek: The Ultimate Voyage, Monday, April 4th. With a live symphony orchestra performing music from the franchise history while film and TV footage is simultaneously projected on screen. Information at orleansarena.com.
I'm Robin Young. If President Obama jams through an election year appointment, it could radically transform our country's laws. Republicans are stopping the conversation, blocking any nomination, refusing to even meet with the nominee.
Now that the president has named a Supreme Court.
Okay, I think we're gonna turn off this. Okay, I think we're gonna turn off the difference between. Okay, so let's go through all the differences between Holy C and C++. Okay, so first of all, you don't have header files. The reason you don't have header files, when it boots, it calls start OS, and this is the boot task. The first task is called Adam. He's a special task. He's the executive on Core 0, and he calls these headers. And what happens is each task has a symbol table. So Adam has a symbol table, and if we say who minus little r, these are our local symbols, I64I. Now we have, if I say U0 count I64N, I64I, for I equal 1, I plus or equal N, I plus plus %D, I. Okay, if I say count, this is a local symbol. Okay, so if I say who minus R, there's a local symbol there, count. Okay, so these are like environment variables. And when you, anyway, now Adam is the first task. Tasks have children. Adam has these, we are children of Adam. All applications run on Core 0, and they do the other cores explicitly when they give them jobs to do explicitly. So everything runs on Core 0. There's one window per task and one symbol table. And anyway, so you inherit the symbols of your parents. So all these inherit Adam symbols. So if I say who recursive plus R, these are all the symbols in Adam's table. This is what he, during the boot, when it booted, it included, it starts in the root directory under start OS, and it calls the Adam directory make. If you look at the directory tree, the Adam directory, all this code is compiled and stored in Adam's tables. So basically, the kernel has some header files, and the compiler has some header files, and there's a kernel bin and a compiler bin. That's half the operating system. The other half of the operating system is in Adam, and it calls make Adam. When it boots, it calls make Adam, and this includes all the stuff in the Adam directory. So what we can do is we can echo during boot. And let's reboot now. I'll go ahead and just to show you reboot. Now it's going to echo the code it's compiling. So there's 40,000 lines of code in the Adam directory, and those header files got stored in the symbol table, and then the headers or those functions got stored. So so if we do a who plus recursive, that's for Atom. All these files are, all these symbols are in his table. So now that means you can use them all. Let's go to these are the differences. So you never need header files. These are the integers, and there's a 64-bit double float, but no 32-bit. It's like C++. You can have default arguments. You can even have a default argument at the beginning. C++ only allows them on the end, but here you can have a default on the beginning. So printf, there's a shortcut. If when it encounters a string, that's a print. When it encounters an opcode, that's an assembly instruction. Anyway, so you have to put an address before a function. If you want the address of a function, put an address. In normal C, you don't have to put an address. Typecasting is postfix. You can just read this. It's on the website, or anyway. There's no main. So there's no main. Any function that can be main. You can have. You can access. There's no bit fields, but you can access bytes off of an integer. There's variadatic, or whatever you call that. If you have ... then just like the this variable in C++, there's an argc and an argv, just like the this, and that's for accessing the ... You can have an upper and a lower bound on an if statement. If 13 is less than or equal to age less than 20, print teenager. There's a fast switch, which doesn't do a check out of bounds. They always use a jump table. You can have ... for a range of. There's a sub switch, which is you can have common code for some of the cases. You can use pad over and over without a name conflict. You can put assembly code. Oh well, that you don't even need to bracket it. It recognizes the opcodes. You can declare an interrupt routine. You can put in assembly. You can put up to 8 characters together into with a single quote. It's a integer. You know how in assembly you like. Anyway, there's a power function, or the power operator. Back / what is that? Backward apostrophe, whatever is a to the power of. So like if you want 3 to the power of 4 is 81. I changed the precedence of the operator so the bit shift is highest precedence. It's a lot better. You don't need parentheses as often. You can execute code at compile time with bracketing it with exe. There's no defined constants. There's no type def, just use case. There's no type checking. There's no angle brackets, just single quotes. There's no make utility, you just include. There's no linker. You just press F5 to run it, or you include it. Union class. That's kind of I don't feel like explaining that. The exceptions are simplified. Basically, you throw an integer lock M size. You can get the size of when you allocate with malloc, you can get the size of it. But you can free null multiple times. You cannot grow the stack. Only one base class is allowed. Printf has new codes, so there's different expanded codes for printf. Flash? What are you talking about? Flash? What are you talking about? Why? It's a compiler. Do you know what a fucking compiler is, motherfucker? Son of a bitch. What a retard nigger. Look, if I say U0 count I64N I64I for I equals 0, for I equal 1, I less or equal to N, I plus plus, %D, comma I, and I say count to 5. If I say unassemble function count, it's 64-bit assembly code. It's motherfucking compiler. A plain, simple motherfucking compiler that sticks it right into memory so you can execute it, or puts it in a flat binary so you can execute it. What the fuck is your malfunction? It's a goddamn compiler. Do you know what a fucking compiler is? I didn't stutter. I said a fucking compiler. It's not an interpreter. It's not Flash. None of that shit. It's a 64-bit goddamn compiler. Fucking retard nigger. Counts to 1,000,000. This operating system is God's official temple. It is divine intellect, and God fucking talks. It's just a matter of time until it becomes big news. This operating system is God's official temple. It is divine intellect, and God fucking talks. It's just a matter of time until it becomes big news. This operating system is God's official temple. It is divine intellect, and God fucking talks. No type checking. I don't like type checking. I get this so often. The poor kids today, we all learned 6502 assembly code when we were with our Commodore 64s. The kids today are clueless. So if you go to my lectures on the distribution, there's a mini compiler. What it does, let me show you. This is you enter an integer expression, 3 plus 4 times 5. This is a stack machine. Push 1, push 3, push 4, pop 3 and 4, add, push 7, push 5, pop 5 and 7, multiply 35, push 35, pop 35, pop 1, add 36. This is machine code over here, 64-bit machine code. If you want, I can explain to you how you code instructions for a x86 64. We go to if you go to the architecture manual from Intel, fucking kids have no respect, and they're clueless. Let's look for the push instruction. Push pop, pop. Push. Okay, so 50 plus the register. So if we go over here, push 50 plus A is, that's pop. Push is 50, that's RAX. 50 is RAX, 50 is RAX, 50 is RAX. So it's making the code. This isn't very hard. If we go to pop, 58 plus the register. So D is 3. Hold on. Yeah, D is 3. BX is, no, B is, that's 5, 8, and what? That's not 5. 8 and B is 3. Okay, BX is 3. D is, this is an XOR instruction. You have to, if you want to code XOR, XOR DX DX, what you do is you go to architecture 2A, instruction format. Okay, so it was a 33 for an XOR. This is machine code. Motherfucker. Fucking retard, MIT niggers. So 33, what is 33? We want XOR RAX, RAX. No, RDX, RDX. Is that what we wanted? So we want 64-bit register memory, register. Okay, so there's two versions, 33. There's first one second. Register memory first, register memory second. So 33/R is there's the low register is in I think, why is that R? It's RAX, it's not. 33. RD, oh, D2, okay. So, okay, the modder is, so it's 33 is the first byte of the opcode, and then the modder is a /R. So you put the register for the DX register, it goes RAX, RD, AX, CX, DX, BX. So D is number 2. So the mod or byte has /R. There's two 3-bit values in the modder. There's 2 3-bit values in the modder. So if we go to the modder, the 2 3-bit values /R, so the register is number 2, and then the other register, we want RAX as the other register, so we want RDX, so it's C, we want DX, so D2, DX. That's how you hand code these instructions. This puts them into a buffer, and it does. It has a lex for. Let's say we want 3 times 5 plus 6 times 5 plus 3 plus 4. Oops. 3 times 5 plus 6, 5 times 2. Okay, so basically this doesn't look too hard. The CIA is trying to make people cows that are stupid. That's why they're not teaching you anything. They're teaching you shit. The CIA wants to take computers and put them in the cloud so that we have calculators, on our desks and all the computers in the cloud under lock and key. Puppy. I have a puppy. Okay, I think I'm going to shut down. Shit.
November, the senators who are running for re-election this fall in particular, big donors who are worried that everything that they've invested thus far in the presidential sweepstakes this year will be lost. And you've got a lot of past party leaders, older people, who are distressed at the change in the image of the Republican Party.
Yeah. Well, we have primaries. States out west are going to vote. Arizona, the primary, Utah, the caucus. Donald Trump expected to win Arizona. Bernie Sanders is looking good out west. So give us your sense of the primaries and caucuses coming up.
Two narratives are really in conflict in both parties in these events. One is the narrative of delegate counting, the hard political math that favors Clinton and Trump at this point. But the other is the psychology of winning, the impression of being a winner and maintaining momentum from one week to the next. And there's a real chance for both Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders to press that competing narrative this week. It looks like Trump is in pretty good shape in Arizona, where his immigration issue is the issue, and he has the backing of the former governor and a very popular sheriff.
Let's see what Mr. God wants to say. God, what do you think of wetbacks? What do you think of wetbacks? Okay, we go to randomnumber.org, 39976. So now we go to (39976). We go to